Hi everybody, Ira Bruce here with Independent News Network. Thank you so much for joining us today on this video. Today we're going to talk about the Second Amendment, okay? I think that's been in the news a lot lately. The one thing that I have not actually have seen up to this point in time is the Second Amendment. What does it say? What does it really reveal in the Constitution? So, what I did was, and I don't know if you're like me, but I mean, I've always listened to the talking heads on television for them telling us what the Second Amendment does, you know, what it's all about. But I've never really read the Second Amendment to start with. So here's the deal. I'm going to bring you the Second Amendment, and let's talk about that today. This is the Second Amendment now. This is right in the Constitution. You can see at the top. It says, Constitution anointed. So, what does that mean? What does that say? All right. This is what, first of all, let me just kind of tell you what really kind of surprised me. This is the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms. The right of the people to keep and bear arms. That's broad. It doesn't regulate what kind of arms or anything like that, like they're talking about in today's news. It says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Period. There's nothing else to this Second Amendment other than that statement right there. Here's something that really surprised me. Let's go ahead and go up here. Let me take you to, see up here where it says the First Amendment? So I was curious. Let's go over to the First Amendment. So I clicked on the First Amendment. Here's what the First Amendment says. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Well, we've kind of heard about that a lot lately in the news. So that's what the First Amendment says. Here's what's really surprised me, though. First Amendment explained. Okay, let's click on the First Amendment explained here. What you're going to see. Look at all of these amendments to the amendment. Amendment 1.1.1, Amendment 1.1.2. Look at all of these. And this is something that kind of got me thinking and tweaked my interest. Governmental encouragement of religion in public schools. We never hear government encouragement of religion. So we're going to hit on that topic, but for today's video, this is not for the First Amendment, but it's for the Second Amendment. But I wanted to show you all the different aspects of the First Amendment, okay? So, this is, look at all the different amendments to the amendment. That kind of like, wow, look at what they've done over the years. Let's go back to the Second Amendment. All right, Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Period. Look. You saw all the amendments to the amendment on that one. Look, this one has really nothing, although it's just telling you a little bit about court cases that have been heard in the United States. Just tells you just in this one article, okay? So, And these are the different court cases where it brought to bear arms. But you don't see any amendments to the amendment like you saw in the First Amendment. All right, this is just what this is doing. Let's go back. Again, Second Amendment, this is what we did was in okay, back one more. All right, so this is the Second Amendment that I read to you initially. All we did was Second Amendment explained. And again, when we hit the First Amendment explained, you saw all those different amendments and articles and stuff like that to that First Amendment. Pretty much the Second Amendment has been challenged in court many times, but nothing has really come out of it simply because when we hit this Second Amendment explained, this is all we see. Doctrine and practice. This is all, and here's a tape right up here is table of cases, table of Supreme Court overruled. Here's a lot of the stuff, but talking about the Second Amendment, but going back to the First Amendment again, you can see all these different amendments and clarifications, I guess you can say, that Amendment 1.1.4, I mean, it just got kind of crazy if you see what went on in the First Amendment. But pretty much the Second Amendment has been unchanged. And again, that is to talk about the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and that's pretty much set in stone. It's black and white, and that's why you don't see many changes or anything at all. You've seen attempts in court cases, as we saw here, but so for over 200 years, despite extensive debate and much legislative action with respect to regulation of the purchase, possession, and transportation of firearms, as well as proposals to substantially curtail ownership of firearms, proposals to substantially curtail the ownership of firearms, there was no definitive resolution by the courts of just what right the Second Amendment protects. It's just been challenged in the courts, and pretty much as we see right here, there's no amendment to the amendment at all that have been gone over for 200 years, okay? So that tells a lot. And so we're not going to go over this whole thing right here. I mean, that's for you. What we do on this channel is we present you the facts and we encourage you to go ahead and do some research. But I want to start the conversation, right? That's what I'm trying to do. And that's why I said I didn't know exactly what the Second Amendment read. I thought the Second Amendment is going to be this big, huge, long article that's going to go on and on and on forever. And basically, folks, the Second Amendment is simply a well-regulated militia. Now, in an earlier video I made in talking about the Second Amendment and the right to keep and bear arms, I talked about why. Why is this Second Amendment in here? This Second Amendment is in here simply because it's our right as a free nation, as a free country, to protect not only ourselves, not only our property and our family, but also to protect ourselves from our government, a free militia, right? So this is the United States of America. That means a lot, because I think what we have seen here lately and everything that's been in the news, states have a lot of power. States have a huge amount of power to regulate themselves. And if we just go back to being necessary to the security of a free state, okay, so we go, so what it is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, right? So that keeps each individual state has a right to have, for everybody to keep and bear arms, to have a well-regulated militia. Okay, so some people will say, well, that regulated militia is the National Guard, and only the National Guard should have the right to keep and bear arms, right? Well, if the right of the people, you have to keep going. The right of the people. So a well-regulated militia, right? Being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms. So that's why it's so difficult for any laws to change the Second Amendment or even try to define what the Second Amendment is. It's pretty clear. It's all about the people having the right to keep and bear arms to protect themselves, their property, their families, as well as themselves from the government. And as we can see today, this is what makes the difference between us and, say, Russia, or us and China. All these communist states or countries, governments that control their people with an iron fist. This is what makes our nation a great nation, because we're free, and this gives us the right to stay free by keeping and bearing arms. Now, look, what happened in Uvalde, Texas is a tragedy. There's no doubt about that. Okay. The government, Joe Biden's, his solution to that is to take all the guns away from everybody. Because of these few individual, sick, deranged people, right? Joe Biden wants to take the rights from every person in this country, their right to keep and bear arms without regulation, because of these few sick, deranged, mentally ill people. Does that make sense to you? Does it make sense to me? Why are our rights infringed upon? Because you have these few sick, crazy individuals that want to go out and shoot people up in a grocery store, shoot poor little innocent children, not poor, but I mean just innocent little children and teachers, which is horrible. These individuals are going to cause everybody, the 300 plus million people in this country, the right to keep and bear arms? No, that is not the solution. And anybody in Congress tries to say it is, they're beaten down the wrong path. So what I think most of us kind of understand is that we can't let these individuals, these sick, deranged individuals, cause us to lose our rights given to us by our founders of our country to keep us a free, independent people. So what is the solution? Well, think about it. You know, there's a saying that says guns don't kill people. People with guns kill people, right? Because a gun just laying on a table is not going to kill you. It has to be picked up by a person, and the trigger has to be pulled by that person. So it's that person that's causing the action to kill somebody, right? So it's the people that need to be dealt with, not the guns, not our rights to defend ourselves against government, against criminals, against whoever wants to cause us harm. It's our right to keep and bear arms. So what is the solution? Well, in my last video or one of my previous videos, I said, which I still hold, mental institutions, insane asylums, psychology clinics, whatever you want to call them. If you want to give it a nice, soft, fluffy flair, you know, a psychology clinic, right, needs to be where these sick, deranged people need to go. And not until a panel, not one individual, not one psychologist, psychiatrist, or whatever, not one mental health executive releases you. There needs to be a panel of people that have judged this person sane enough to be released back out into society. We need to be proactive and preemptive. Those two things. We need to be proactive and preemptive. And the way we do that is by families and friends. If you see something, say something. You remember that old saying, if you see something, say something? That needs to be the way of society today. Because guess what? All these deranged people, when they start going and looking at their background and all of their, you know, doing these things, okay, all of a sudden you're seeing in social media, they're posting all this stuff about killing people, killing animals. I mean, the last crazy, and we're not even gonna dignify him by saying his name on this video. This last crazy, we're gonna call him what he is. From what I heard, and I don't know whether it's true or not, but from what I heard, had a bag of dead cats, a plastic bag of dead cats that he was bragging about and showing people. That's sickness. That's when people need to call in, say, hey, this guy's got a problem. There's a potential problem with this guy, and he needs to be put away. Years and years ago, we used to have these insane asylums. And yes, there was definitely abuse in these insane asylums. And we don't need to go back to that. But what we do need to go back to is having not only jails in cities and jails in counties and prisons in the state prisons, city jails, county jails. We also need to have the same thing in mental institutions. We need to have a city level facility. You need to have an inpatient facility to house people just like they house criminals. Because you know what? In the past, it used to be called the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. I see no rehabilitation coming out of these prisons, which is what they really are. They are not the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. They house people until they've done their time, and then they set them out onto society again, only to reoffend and commit more crime. Why? Because they've been housed for years. Think about it, folks. These people have been housed away for years. They have no job. They have no family. If they do, their family has ostracized them. Again, in my opinion, what I'm going to advocate is that not one person is released from prison without going to a work release center first for a minimum of 1 year. I don't care how big or how small their crime was. If it was a small crime, maybe they need to go right to work release for a year. and build up a job status, build up a bank account so they have money. Because it's my understanding that from what I know about the prison system, they give you $100 and then a bus ticket to wherever you want to go. Now, how long is $100 going to last somebody straight out of prison? It's just not going to happen. And so what's going to happen? They're going to reoffend. They're going to go out there. They're going to hold somebody up with a knife or with a gun or whatever, rob a bank, steal, whatever. I mean, these, if you think about it, these are desperate people that are just being released out onto society without ever any kind of rehabilitation or even at least the chance of getting a job and having money to be able to support themselves so they don't have to reoffend. So we need to think about that. And we need to carry on this conversation and try to, this country needs a lot of help. This country's going to hell in a handbag pretty quick, and nothing is being done. And so we the people, and it's up to us independent voters to change the dialogue and make sure that the Republicans and the Democrats, both parties, are doing the right thing. And while I'm on that subject, if the Republicans think that they're just going to walk right into getting the majority of the Senate and the House of Representatives, get the majority of Congress, and not do anything, they're sadly mistaken. They need to let us know. So here's the thing, folks. We have a chance right now in these primaries to select the right person for the job, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. It is our job right now to support, and I mean monetarily as well across the country. I keep preaching that. We need to support the right person for the job. That's why we're all independent voters. We support the Democrat or we support Republicans, but we support the right person for the job to do the job for us. And let's not lose sight of that. And they don't need to lose sight of that. They're working for us, the people. We're the ones that elected them into a position to work for us, to do the right thing for us. And so it's so important in this next election, even in the primaries, that we select the right person to compete against each other, right? So we get the right people in Congress when the national election comes up in November. So right now, this primary is so important to get those right people in place right now. So it's not like we have to choose from the lesser of the two evils. That is a recipe for disaster. So listen, I want to thank you all for watching this video. Let's continue the dialogue. Please go ahead and give us your comments. If you're not yet a subscriber, we'd love to have you as a subscriber. And please hit that notification icon. And I want to mention, we're on both Rumble and YouTube, because I'm sure there's going to be some controversial videos that I make that will be subject to removal from the YouTube platform. And I don't want to be canceled 100%. So I encourage you, if you're watching this video on YouTube, please check out our Rumble channel as well if you're interested in this dialogue and what we have to say, because there very well possibly could be other videos that you're not seeing on YouTube that will be on the Rumble platform. So I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video. So I'm Ira Bruce with Independent News Network. Thank you so much for watching.